so many people just want to be seen and want to have someone look at them and listen to them, and perhaps understand them a little bit. And that's I think what we do really well on the show. When you just put out good energy and you open yourself up to new people and new opportunities, like stuff happens. And I thought, wow. I thought, here I am thinking I'm this young hot shot who's going to come and run some sub-3 marathon. I've obviously given up on that at this point, but here's this woman that's just crushing it, and she's blind, and it really kind of reset my understanding of what long distance running is.
I'm Joshua Potts, Mr. Possible, always with the brother with the same mother, Aaron Potts, Super Hot Potts, and you're watching and listening to your favorite two black runners every single Two Black Two. Let's go, turn up. Turn up. Tuesday. Early in the morning, we set up, we recording, but I had to get that out. I had to get that out because the hype's real. I've seen the transformation of the show right now with our guest today, bro. No, I think coming into 2022, we were talking about like we want to do our thing, regular two black runners, how we really do, but like at the end of the day, we just two black runners, and I don't think that limits us to really anything. And I think the way that we want to connect this podcast in the future and the big picture of this podcast is be able to just get anybody. And I feel like running is one of the biggest, not one of the biggest sports. It's the biggest sport ever. It's the true essence of sport. Like that's how I like to look at it. And like anybody can connect to it. And I feel like that's what it is with our guest today. Aaron, I think this is going to be special, to be honest. That's how I feel about it.
Definitely going to be special. It's going to, maybe change the way some people perceive what we do here. But like you said, at the end of the day, we're just two black runners having thoughtful conversations. You know what I'm saying?
No, for real though. But let's get into it, bro. You guys already know about the title. You feel me? You know who's coming on the podcast. We got the Catfish guy. The dude was the runner-up at Dancing with the Stars, bro. He got the feet too, the twinkle toes. You know what I mean? He has a sub 3-hour marathon though. This man is a beast. Nev Schulman is on the podcast on Two Black Runners. I never thought this would really happen in my life. Like, you could have told me 2 years ago we're doing an interview with Nev, I would have not believed you. But hey, we're here. Nev, how's it going? Like, this is crazy for us.
What's up? All right, good to be here.
Yeah, I would say the same, Joshua. I wouldn't have expected to have Nev as a guest, but I feel like there are some things that we have in common after we went through your life and everything that I'm excited to kind of ask you about. But first off, we just saw one of your kiddos in here off the cuff too. Like, what's it like for you being an American film producer, host of Catfish, like runner? How do you balance doing so many different things?
Yeah, I mean, we've got 3 kids now, which keeps us pretty busy. And when I'm not filming the show and traveling, I'm home, really kind of helping take care of the kids, whether it's dropping them off at school, watching the baby, picking them up, after school stuff. There's a million things to do every day. And then, just washing dishes and doing laundry in between. But it's tough. If running is your favorite thing to do and you want to do it every day, then I would say having kids makes that a little harder. So I don't get to run as much as I would like to. Although this morning I got a nice run in, beautiful day. I dropped the kids off at school and squeezed a run in between that and doing this. So it's doable. It just takes a lot more finagling and planning to get out there.
Well, yeah. Well, if you really love something, like you'll find time to do it. Like you'll figure out and try and get that in. But how far did you run this morning? And with that, like in play, are you training for something too right now? Trying to for a race or anything?
Today I ran like just under 7 miles, so nothing crazy. But I hadn't run in like, I guess almost 2 weeks now. So, I was starting to feel a little bad about it. I mean, I don't know how often you guys run, but I like to run at least once a week, if not 2 or 3 times. But it's just been tough lately. We went on a little trip. I've been traveling for work. The weather, if it's windy and rainy, it's like the kids are sick. It's just so many things getting in your way every day. But today was a good run. I got out there, felt good. I'm not training for anything really specifically. I do have I think the Brooklyn half marathon, I think, is coming up. And then, of course, I run the New York City Marathon every year. So I've always kind of got my sights set on that. And I'd like to do another sub 3. I know it's in there, and I'd love to beat my previous time. So that's sort of always tempting me.
I think it's interesting you say that, like, this is your first time. Like, it's hard to like fit everything in, and like you try to get to run once a week. I feel like for me and Aaron, this is really our first time in our lives where like we can't really run every single day. Because like I was telling you off wax, like we both ran in college and everything, and we did Aaron was trying to become professional. I just ran in college. But like now that I'm working at school, I'm doing school, I'm like coaching and like doing this, trying to do this more and more. I don't have like my first time running in like 3 weeks was yesterday. I only did 3 miles. I didn't do 7. Feel me? I could have done 7, like don't I could have done 7, feel me? But I only did 3 because I was like, let me just get a quick 3 in. My foot was kind of hurting. But yeah, I was all like, I think it's weird to now finally feel like that same feeling of like feeling bad when like at a time we felt like obligated in the sense, Aaron, like I have to get a run in every single day.
I'm at a point where I don't feel bad. It's just like, well, it's like I don't feel bad, but I'm like, I need to exercise. I need to exercise.
That's right. That's, I think, what happens to me is like if I'm not running pretty consistently, I start to feel out of shape. I just don't like the way my body feels. And also, I've got a really solid foundation of fitness. And so, I can still, having not run in 2 weeks, go out and do 6.5 miles at a, 6:48 or 6:50 pace. But like, it's a little tough. And I don't like that. I want to maintain that fitness so that I can build on it and get faster and stronger. I know what you guys mean though about wanting to get out there more often.
That's kind of legit though, like being able 2 weeks off, 6:40, like that's pretty legit. Like what was I don't think you didn't like run like in high school or anything like that. So what did you first start doing as like your favorite activity as like a kid to kind of just like get in shape? Were you always kind of athletic or that came later?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up a sort of skinny, pretty short white kid in New York City. So like sports was not exactly a big part of my life. The way it would be at a high school in the suburbs, with a real track and field team and a real, football team. Like we didn't have any of that. We had a little gym with a basketball court. But I always liked sports. I was very competitive. And I remember, for PE class, once a year, you had to run a mile around the reservoir in Central Park. And I always remember it was usually me and there's one other kid, Jeff, what was his last name? Man, I can't remember. But we were always like the fastest people. And I always kind of thought that was cool that I was, I guess, sort of fast. I don't remember how fast, but whatever. And, I played sports in summer camp and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I think I was like 28, 29, that a friend of mine, who you guys probably know, Casey Neistat, he's a big blogger. I was spending the weekend at his house in Connecticut, and he was really into triathlons at that time and had done the Ironman and all of it. And there was like a little local, what do they call it? Like a sprint triathlon. I think it's like I don't know how long the swim is, but then it's like a 17-mile bike ride and then a 5K at the end or something like that. And so he said, "Hey, Nev, you should do this with me. Come on, it'll be fun." So I borrowed a pair of sneakers and his neighbor's bicycle, and I did it. And it was tough, the swimming especially, because that's a whole different level of fitness. But it was really fun. It was the first time I had done like a big group fitness activity, a race.
Yeah.
And it kind of got hooked. And I thought, okay, you know, I could get into this. So I decided, okay, let me see if I can run the New York City Marathon. My dad ran it when he was in his 30s. He was always a runner when I was a kid. Always loved talking about running. He always used to take me to the finish line of the marathon. We'd sit in the stands and watch the runners, you know, come through. So I thought, okay, I'm going to sign up for the New York City Marathon. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it in under 3 hours like my dad did. And I didn't realize how hard that was. That's like a really tough benchmark.
Yeah.
But it was a great goal, and it took me, 3 marathons to get there. But I got it, and it was awesome, and it sort of really got me hooked into long distance running and marathons.
Man, I think that's crazy that you just went out and just did a triathlon.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a great indicator that you can do a marathon. How did that first marathon feel in comparison to the first try that you just randomly did?
Well, I remember the swimming. The first event is always, I think, a swim, and that was so hard and took me. I think I was swimming for like 40 minutes, which is crazy because most people, I think, do it in like 15 or 20. So I was just out there like backstroking, just trying not to, hyperventilate. But I remember, I don't know, I feeling, I think at the end tired, but like excited that I had finished. And the biking was pretty easy for me, having been a cyclist kind of in my younger years and riding my bike my whole life around the city. And then the run went okay. And I remember just thinking that was super fun. And then after my first marathon, I was not, I was definitely more exhausted because, the difference of running for 3.5 hours was a lot longer than I'd ever done anything. So I was definitely wiped out after my first marathon. And I think also a bit disappointed that it was as hard as it was, because I think I was a little cocky, and that was sort of the first time I really got humbled and realized that, okay, even though I can run fast and I've done some half marathons, like this is a different beast. So it was a good experience.
I think it's interesting that you bring in the word humble. I want to get into this a little bit later, but I think everyone already knows that you're the Catfish guy. Most people know what Catfish is. Like, I don't need to explain to them what the show is and everything like that. Like, it was a global phenomenon. But I really feel like with running, it's easy to be humbled in the sport. Like, even without even doing a marathon, just going out there and saying, like, I'm going to do 12 miles today at 6:40 pace, and then you get the mile 8, and then like your stomach starts rumbling. You feel me? Like, that can humble you for sure. But just like prepping for the show and like thinking about Catfish before this like interview, I feel like, and especially like the movie Catfish as well that you were in, that first really kicked it all off. Like, you, in a sense, like you were like not humbled in this sense, but I feel like humble, a nice cousin to that, is like, in order like to be humbled after that, you get kind of like empathy in a way. And I feel like you always showed a lot of care and empathy. And I feel like those are things that kind of really derive and you can get from like distance running. Like, distance running can teach you all those characteristics of like empathy, but being humble and just like having that type of care too, because going through that by yourself is such a intimate experience. Because like, even if you have people around you, like that's really just you going through that hard work. So what are some of the things that like distance running has sort of taught you in a sense that's helped you like through now and through your life, I feel like?
Yeah, well, my first real, meaningful, I think, experience with my marathon running was when I ran my first marathon. And I'll never forget, I was coming down Fifth Avenue. I don't know if you're familiar with the New York City Marathon course, but at Fifth Avenue and 124th Street, there's a park. There's a little park called Marcus Garvey Park. So you have to take a quick right turn and then another left, and you go down the side of this park for 4 blocks. And so right at around 121st Street, let's call it, it's probably mile 20 or 21. So everyone's starting to really feel it. And I certainly was. And I remember I heard some kind of calling coming from behind me. And it was some people sort of saying, you know, what, heads up, on your right, on your right. And so clearly there was someone coming, and they get up next to me, and I see that it's two guides with a blind woman who must have been in her 50s. And she just flies past me.
Wow.
And I thought, wow. I thought, here I am thinking I'm this young hotshot who's going to come and run some sub-3 marathon. I've obviously given up on that at this point, but here's this woman that's just crushing it, and she's blind, and it really kind of reset my understanding of what long distance running is, because, you know, it's almost an eye roll to say it, but, you know, there are sprints and then there are marathons in life, and life is a marathon. And so if you really want to set a goal, you have to give yourself time to achieve it responsibly, and do the work, right? Because like I kind of thought a little bit foolishly, like, oh, I'll do some light training, and I'm young and I'm in shape, I should be no problem. Mm-hmm. And what I realized and have since is that it doesn't matter who you are or how good a shape you are in. There's no cheating. There's no shortcut. There's no sprinting the marathon. You have to really take your time, put in the work, and be patient. And that's hard sometimes in life, but it took me, and then I ended up doing the work, and it took me 3 years. And one of those years I had a real setback because I got injured because I was training too hard and I wasn't taking good enough care of my body, stretching, and physical therapy. So like I had to sort of start over, because it was September. I was in the best shape I'd been. I was ready to do it. And then I got injured, so I couldn't run that year. So the following year, I really took my time. I really did the PT and the stretching and the self-care and it humbled me again. I thought you could just do one side of the work, and then I learned you have to do all of the sides. So it's a good, sort of metaphor for anything you want to do in life. There's no cheating. There's no shortcuts. You have to really do the work.
Do you feel like, and like everything you're saying is so true, especially about distance running, but do you feel like training for those marathons, like, does that keep you honest, just like in your normal day's work with whatever you're doing with filmmaking, with like even like your relationships, like in life? Do you feel like it kind of like carried over? It's kind of like almost like training your mind in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a really important, just for me, I know that there are a few things in my life that I've discovered that I care about and like doing and I'm passionate about. Running, obviously, being one of them, and probably the most recent of them. And so I think what I've learned from my relatively new interest in distance running is you're not going to be in a position to serve yourself or anyone around you or your job or your kids if you're not also serving yourself. And even though I know at times, even for me, that sounds sort of selfish, I think for the importance that I place on my fitness and my doing these group runs and having the community of friends in the running world brings me so much happiness and physical wellness, that I think it's taught me to then sort of take that same energy and apply it to all the things in my life. Because if I'm running and I'm feeling good and I'm training for a race and I'm excited, like that then bleeds over and keeps me happy throughout all these other things. So I have to then apply that same energy and effort and kind of look at each thing in my life as something that needs the same amount of preparation and goal setting, and kind of just informs my behavior in other aspects of my life.
I think that's good. That was good. I think that's really good. And that's the kind of conversation, like for me trying to get back into running just a little bit, just the 3 miles, you feel me? That's kind of conversation that I was having, because I've been in the place of just being all like, I've just got done. This is my first year not running competitively since I was 5 years old.
Whoa.
And like that was a little bit of like kind of just like weird. Like, like dang, like I miss running. I wish I was collegiately running right now. And I see like my friends like doing well at conference and everything. Like shout out to them. They killing it. But
what were your events?
My event was the 8 and the 15. Then I did a little bit of cross country, but never liked cross country. For me.
Right. So you're not as much of a distance runner.
No, I'll do distance though. I do distance. Like I've done 16, but no, I'm not like running. I'm not competing, and I'm not competing no 5K or 10K. That's definitely not me. You know what I mean? But a marathon will definitely happen one day. But those definitely like now trying to start like running again is definitely for the first time. It's really like just for myself in a way, and just like trying to have that mental break like in the morning or the evening, or like how you guys were talking about like just the exercise that really comes with that. That's important to have. Like that can keep you sane in a way.
Definitely. I really think too like yeah, because I'm the older brother, so I've already been like dealing with that transformation of what is my relationship with running. And I think it's everything you said, Neve. Like it's for myself. Like it's for myself to take care of myself, but also like for me, it's a lot of it too, just keeping myself disciplined, and it keeps me in like a good routine. Like everyone, they say do something hard like once a day. So it's just like I'm not getting too comfortable. So always like like after 2 weeks, I'm like shoot, like I need to go do something, bro, because I cannot just be working all day and not doing nothing. But also, before we get deeper into Catfish too, we want to hear more about like your background and things like that. We know you grew up in New York, and I was just interested like in your name, because I saw how you spelled. I usually see it spelled NEV, but then I saw how you spelled it with the YA in the front. Where does your name come from?
Yeah, my full name is Yaniv, which is a Hebrew name. My parents are New Yorkers, but they lived in Israel for a period of time before my brother and I were born. And so they gave us both sort of very Israeli names, Yaniv and Ariel. But since I was a little kid, everyone just sort of called me Neve. And so it's kind of just been Neve since I was like 3. A few, like if you really know me, if you're my family or you went to like, grade school with me, you might call me Yaniv. But other than that, no one really does. So that's the story of my name. And then wait, it was a 2-part question. What was the other?
No, I just wanted to know your background, but
right. Yeah. So my background is basically I'm kind of a, what is it? My parents, my grandparents, or my great grandparents born in New York.
Oh dang.
Maybe. Cool. I mean, I can't remember, from a 3rd or 4th generation sort of New Yorker. And I've always lived here. I spend a lot of time in LA because that's where production on Catfish is. But this is my city. I love it here. And honestly, one of the things that I love most about New York is I can go for a run, which I just did this morning, and see dozens and dozens of other people running. And it's not like I'm running on a beautiful path through a park.
Yeah.
I'm running down busy sidewalks and streets and over bridges, and there's still people out running. In LA, I go for a run in beautiful Beverly Hills. I don't live in Beverly Hills, but I'll go there for a run, and I won't see anyone. There's just I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe there's some secret running track I don't know about, but New York just has that intense energy that I don't care if it's 30 degrees and snowing or 90 degrees and rain. Like, people move here. Everybody wants to be moving all the time. And I love that. And that's sort of a big part of who I am. I always need to be moving, doing, whether it's running or riding. I got my e-bike. I'm always zipping around town. Like, I need like a shark, right? I just need to be moving.
I love that. We went to New York. We went to the past New York City Marathon. That was our first time ever to New York. First time ever at like a big marathon like that. And the energy was next level. Like, I love the go-getter just energy like in the air of New York. And yeah, like you're saying, like we're in California, and it depends on where you live, but like
well, yeah, there's a lot of people who do a lot of outdoor activities. Don't get me wrong, but like, right, if you live along the ocean, yeah, there's people running up and down, sure, but like, it doesn't have the same intensity.
I didn't expect to see like running culture being so big, like with all the running crews and stuff out there in New York. Like I didn't expect that to be in New York being that. I was just like, where do you go to run? That's what I thought at first about New York. I was like, where do people go to run? But people just run the street. I mean, you guys have Central Park,
Prospect Park. I mean, there's you know, they're getting better. They're finally like connecting and finishing a lot of the sort of running paths up and down the rivers now. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's like for me to go for a 10-mile run, you know, I'm running up and down streets. I've got to cross the bridge and then go through Chinatown and come back over the Manhattan Bridge and come through William. It's like, you know, it's crazy. It is kind of insane. But it's also really fun, and every run is different, and every block, you know, you've got 10 different things you got to watch out for: a pedestrian, a cyclist, someone opening their car door, a truck backing up, a bus. This is like, it's a real, you know, obstacle course every day.
No, that's why I think it's really cool about running in New York. Cause I did a little bit more running than Aaron when we were out there. I even did the avid dash to the finish, like 5K. Cool. I did pretty good too. I placed like 60 something. You feel me? I did my thing. Feel me? But like I did that, and I'm like running down. I can't remember what street it was, but the street with like all the hotels and stuff. I'm like, this is dope. Like I never, for my first time like being to New York was definitely like flipping back to like different movies or just like shows that like flipping back to Home Alone, you know, like just like that was some of the first like thoughts that were just coming through and be able, Home Alone 2. Those were things that were definitely just flipping through my mind, kind of being there and going on like that same thing. Like your start like interest like into film and photography and everything. Where did that really come from? And just being in that side of like artistic side at a very young age.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in New York City definitely gives you an opportunity to just sort of see and hear and feel art all around you all the time. You know, even just from street performers in the subway to, you know, Thanksgiving Day Parade and all the marching band. I mean, and then obviously there's Broadway and Lincoln Center. And I was very fortunate to live not too far from Lincoln Center, which is where the ballet and the opera are. And my parents would take me to shows, big and small. Like I remember when Stomp, which I'm sure you've heard of, was a brand new little show downtown at some tiny theater. And I went to see it. And like Blue Man Group, now they're a big deal, but they were just this small, weird little show downtown that I went to see when I was like 10. So it's just cool to live here and to get to see all that. And when I was in 5th grade, I started doing like an after school dance program, like a sort of fun kind of jazzy hip hop dance troupe. And so that kind of got me into performing and introduced me to the stage. And so, you know, I would do like high school musical stuff. And I went to like an arts camp a few summers and tried playing the violin. And I was sort of always interested in that world, but never found anything that I was good enough and passionate about enough to pursue seriously and potentially like make a career out of. But I always loved the arts and performing. And when my best friend growing up and my brother both are filmmakers. And so I was always around them, helping them, you know, whether it was just driving the car for them or setting up equipment or whatever. And so I kind of grew up around filmmakers. And then I had a really interesting opportunity when my dad was involved with a dance workshop one summer and invited me to kind of come out and stay at his house and watch some rehearsals. And I kind of just fell in love with ballet, weirdly. I mean, I never thought I would be into ballet, but I met these dancers and I saw them dancing, and it wasn't sort of the traditional ballet that I had always imagined. And still really don't like. It was like contemporary ballet, which is very sexy and athletic. And, you know, the music can be, modern contemporary music. And anyway, I just fell in love with it. And so because I had all this film equipment, because my brother and I had been making bar mitzvah videos and wedding documentaries, I just started filming dancers, and that kind of weirdly took off, and I started getting hired to film performances and rehearsals and making these videos. And then I started pictures, and ended up sort of helping start this dance company with this really cool guy named Christopher Wheeldon. And I guess I just got wrapped up in it. Yeah. And so that's sort of all weirdly then led to the Catfish documentary, because it was some photos that I took of a dance film that my brother made that were put in a newspaper that somebody in Michigan then saw and reached out to me, and that ended up being the woman who catfished me. So it's kind of a crazy, twisty, turny path from dancing to filmmaking to getting catfished.
I watched your film. I watched Catfish last night just to get ready for this, and I think it's like very interesting, like watching that, because it happened like that was 2007. Yeah. 2007 was released in 2010, and I'm just like thinking back to what life was like in 2007 with social media, and I think one of your catfish is one of the craziest catfishes, like, because she sent you, she randomly saw this photo and then sent you like art or something, right? Yeah. Like
a lot of art. Yeah.
I think that's just a crazy way for it to start. Like that would make me think the person is real for sure. Like,
right. Well, let's be careful if we're going to give away any spoilers, because there are probably a lot of people listening right now who haven't watched the doc. And it was a long time ago, so a lot of people don't even realize that I was sort of catfished and that there was this documentary about it, which is why I'm hosting the show. So if you haven't watched the doc and you don't want to know what happens, then, I guess skip ahead a few minutes. But no, yeah, it was crazy, because she, this girl sends me this message on MySpace and says, "Hey, I love your pictures. Can I do a painting of it?" And so it was just so innocent, and charming. And from there, a friendship with the mom and the sister and all, and this was right kind of when Facebook was really like opening up, and you didn't have to have, you guys don't even maybe know this, but initially, in order to get on Facebook, you had to have an email address from a college. Yeah. And there were only a few colleges at the time that were allowed to. So, every few weeks, a new batch of colleges would allow their whatever. And then eventually they just sort of opened it up, and anyone could make a Facebook page. And so all of a sudden, all these people in this girl's life are getting on Facebook and friending me, and I'm talking to all these people, and they all have different stories. And, it was like very involved and elaborate and just fun and distracting for me. So yeah, it was a pretty wild experience when we finally went up there to meet them, knowing that some of what they had told us wasn't totally true. And then of course, discovering the reality of it was quite a shock. But to kind of get back, this is actually where I thought you were going earlier when you talked about kind of being humble. And you mentioned this, but that experience for me of sort of coming into a situation thinking I'm the victim, and then immediately realizing that whatever I'm feeling and whatever the experience I think I'm having pales in comparison to this other person who's on the other side of it, was incredibly eye-opening, heart-opening, sort of, mind-opening. And fortunately, in that moment, I had the awareness to sort of put my feelings, if you will, kind of on hold, and really give this woman an opportunity to sort of be seen. And that's, I think, really what has made that documentary and the show a success, is that so many people just want to be seen and want to have someone look at them and listen to them, and perhaps understand them a little bit. And that's, I think what we do really well on the show. It's not about catching, a liar in their, red-handed. It's about like helping people discover themselves and giving them a place to talk about it. So that continues to be a really fulfilling opportunity for me every episode, and I look forward to it, and I find new things about them and myself, and And then selfishly also traveling to make the show gives me an opportunity to run in new places, which is also really fun.
And like just not to give too much away from the documentary, but like you like meeting her and like talking to like Angela and then like having like conversations like afterwards, you know, like staying like a little bit. I thought y'all were about to just dip, you know, like
Right.
I would have definitely been like I would have met the first time. You know, we were still nice and everything, but like I'm going home, bro. Like I'm cool. I'm cool off this. You know what I mean? But like to have like that conversation to kind of like really, I feel like there was a little bit of like some closure there once you guys sort of left in some way, and be able to actually like talk and like hash things out and be able to do that at 24, like is really wild, because a lot of people would set up this question and be all like, dang, I just said I would have leave, but they would have said I would have went off on this person, I would have like and stuff, but be that calm and cool and collected at 24 years old is definitely something that's wild.
I appreciate that. I mean, I definitely have to give credit where credit's due. You know, I was with my brother and his business partner or best friend, Henry. And both of them, I think, are, you know, very sensitive, smart guys. Yeah. And I think having them there to sort of also help guide and handle that situation definitely helped. I don't know what would have happened if I had been by myself. But yeah, I mean, look, I really, I'm so grateful that I had that experience and that it was captured on video, because that experience and that, you know, humility that I showed and that empathy that we showed her is how people were kind of introduced to me. And obviously it made an impression and gave me a direction to go with my self and my life and my career. And I don't know that I would have necessarily, you know, I wouldn't have ended up where I am, obviously, if it hadn't been for that. So it just goes to show that every opportunity, even if in the moment it doesn't necessarily feel like something that might be that meaningful, can't, you know, what if you handle yourself in a way that's, you know, I don't know what the right word is, but just, you know, if you're a good person and you do the right thing, you know, it whether it's karma or just sort of energy in the universe, like it paid off. And it set me in motion in a direction that I'm so grateful for. That's really been an amazing, you know, now 10 years of making this show. So I think about that a lot.
Our dad tells us, don't get ready, be ready. Like, don't get ready, be ready. You know, you never know who's watching.
I know, well, especially now. I mean, you know, you do something on the street and then security camera catches it, and who knows, you know, it could end up being the next viral video. It's like you always got to be right, you know, doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, I could even say that about us getting you on our podcast. Like, we're just like, my relationship with Liam like started because like I just DM'd him one time to ask about what it's like being a sports agent, and then we just kind of became friends, seeing each other at track meets, and
cool.
We've definitely, like, with like the podcast and getting guests and stuff, it's really just hanging out with people for a second, and next thing you know, this person knows this person, and then it's all interconnected. Yeah. It's crazy. And that's one thing too, when I think about like Catfish, like with Facebook back then, but now there's MySpace, not MySpace, what am I saying? There's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's Snapchat, there's Tinder, there's Hinge.
Yeah.
There's like filters. Like, did you know that getting catfish was something like a common thing that was happening people when it happened to you?
No, because I you know, like, even though I grew up, you know, with the rise of the internet, and I remember the old school AOL chat rooms, and like I was never really big into that stuff. I know, like, my wife, when she was 12, was definitely in those chat rooms lying and saying that she was 18 and, you know, living in California, you know, like, but apparently a lot of our generation did grow up kind of catfishing very lightly, and some obviously getting catfished more so. But again, I was lucky. I lived in the city. I had a very full, sort of real IRL life with activities, and like I wasn't stuck behind a computer, isolated in some small town somewhere. So I didn't know that people were kind of really living alternate lives online until it happened to me. And that's when obviously I discovered that there was a whole, underground river or reservoir of people who had been sort of quietly keeping these experiences secret. And then all of a sudden my documentary came out and like drilled down into that reservoir and just started gushing out. And I'm like, oh my God, that happened to me. And I have a story for you. And I think this might be happening to me now. And like everyone just wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, and I'm curious too after that, because like you said, you grew up like through the rise of the internet and social media. Most definitely like being at the beginning of like Facebook, and to have your start of like social media in a way like sort of like
dramatic.
Well, I guess at the time, I don't know how it feels, but like low-key just like it's altered and changed and stained in a way of like this weird experience. Like, can I ever like trust social media again? Like, did your view of like social media like sort of like change? Obviously, you're still on there. You're low-key like a running influencer with your reels and stuff, doing your thing. Like, did your view of like social media totally change after that to where it may not be negative, but like there's definitely things that you think differently now?
I mean, look, I don't know. I still think the internet is great for a lot of things. I don't necessarily think everybody should have an opinion and have that opinion be heard all the time. Well, everyone should have an opinion. I don't think everyone's opinion needs to be heard. But even that could be controversial to say, I guess, but let's just be honest. Some people should just keep their mouth shut, or their fingers down. But I continue to be excited by and impressed by the internet. And though it is now sort of very intimidating and overwhelming because I constantly just go on there and see other people doing things better than me and funnier than me and faster than me. And I'm just, constantly kind of thinking, what's the point? I'm never going to be as good at the internet as this person or that person. But I've actually, like you said, recently decided that I'm going to stop comparing myself to everyone else and just focus on making stuff that I like. And so I know I like running, and I know I like making little, short films. And so I've started really kind of just focusing on creating a space for myself in the running influencer athlete world, which is weird because it's not what my fans or followers know me as or for. So I think it's maybe a little bit of a surprise and perhaps a shock for everyone that all of a sudden now I'm posting all these running reels. But I think that it's changed me, and it's really opened up a lot of avenues for me and opportunities. And more than anything, it's just given me a tremendous amount of physical and mental wellness and health. So I feel like because it's a big part of what I do on Catfish and a big part of my kind of message in general, which is just to sort of be real and be honest and be happy and healthy. Like for me, running has been a huge part of that. So I'm really hoping to use my platform to kind of get more people thinking about and hopefully actually running and moving and feeling better.
Yeah, always going for a run. It's going to be great for you. One question I got for you too about Catfish is every time I've watched the episodes, like I watched so many of the TV shows. It's been on for so long. And I'm always like, man, like this dude is fearless going in to these things. And then it wasn't until last night, that was my first time watching the actual movie. And I was like, oh, he's always been like this. You've never been scared. So like, has there ever been a show you all been unable to air because it got like too dicey, or like Where does this where does this fear come? I mean, not where does fearlessness come from?
Yeah, well, incredibly, no. We've never had a show we couldn't air because of anything that turned too far. But I think part of my fearlessness, which is a nice way of saying it, but my parents would probably call it impulsive sort of stupidity. It's just sort of part of my DNA. I don't know exactly how to describe it. I was like an ADHD hyper kid, and always had a hard time kind of controlling my impulses. And also growing up in the city, like I've always been super into I don't know, the modes of transportation, right? So like I loved riding my bicycle around the city, and I would really like super dangerous through traffic, weaving in and out, holding on to trucks. Like I was just, I don't know. I always feel most comfortable and safest right on the edge of whatever activity I'm doing in terms of putting myself kind of in harm's way. But just, I'm not irresponsible. At least I don't think so. I'm sure someone would say I am, but I get a rush, like my high, the adrenaline rush that I seek is from sort of being in the flow, often of traffic or even people or running at a race, whatever it is, like navigating and kind of turning the world into a video game is kind of my like sweet spot. And so I think similarly, when it comes to confrontation or sort of strange, unusual situations, like I'm always best just moving, going, like just kind of putting my head down and like diving in and dealing with it as it comes at me. Like I like the world coming at me. I'm not like someone who kind of holds back or likes to scope things out. And sometimes it doesn't work out because I go in too quick and I blow it. But sometimes it also goes really well. So I've learned how to, eliminate the bad moments and situations, and for the most part now, keep the world coming at me, but responsibly.
Well, yeah, it definitely has worked out for you. 10 years of Catfish, the show, like doing all these amazing things. And as we get out of here and close out the podcast in like the next 7 minutes, we also have our Next Stop Oregon segment where this summer, bro, 2,000 of the world's best track and field athletes are going to be competing at the first ever World Athletics Championships on U.S. soil. And like in preparation and leading up to like this world event, first time in Eugene, in the world, in U.S. soil, like Nev, I want you there. We need you there.
When and where is that?
This is happening July 15th through the 24th at Hayward Field in Oregon, Eugene, Oregon. Get your tickets, World Championships Oregon 22.com. And first, I got to ask you, though, as we go to our Next Stop Oregon segment, like, bro, have you been to like a track meet since you've like got back into running and everything?
No, no, actually, now that you mentioned, I haven't, but on, I think May 20th.
Oh, you're going to the Ithaca at the Trials and Miles?
Wait, no, I think there's like a celebrity mile thing here in the city, in New York City. I can't remember what it's called, but I think I'm signed up to run that mile, and I have this cool guy who's going to help train me, so I can see what I'm capable of mile wise.
I think that is the Trials and Miles at Ithaca Stadium.
Oh yeah, Icon Stadium, right?
Yeah, Icon. Ithaca.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Icon.
No, that was funny.
Ithaca. That's Ithaca.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'm doing that.
Well,
but
have you ever? Go ahead.
It's funny. So since we're talking about the mile, I was watching Winning Time. Have you guys been watching?
I love that show.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the most recent episode, I don't know if you're up to date or not, but I'm not going to spoil anything. The episode starts with this incredible story about the first person to run the sub 4 minute mile. Do you guys know about this guy?
Roger Banister.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't know about it. I mean, and I just think it was so cool that back in, what was it? In
40, 50, 60.
Yeah.
50.
I don't remember. 1954. This 25-year-old med student who was just an amateur runner just decided he wanted to try and run a 4-minute mile. And up until then, for thousands of years, because running's been around obviously since, people were being hunted by animals. No one thought it was possible. Everyone just thought, no, it can't be done, too fast. Humans can't run that fast. And then this guy just decided he was going to do it. And he did. And then after that, everyone started running 4-minute miles because they realized, oh, I can do that too. Anyway, so I just thought that was a really cool story and gave me sort of a new perspective on setting goals and pushing yourself to do, because I'm obviously not going to set any records in running, but I can certainly set my own records for myself. So I'm excited now, having watched that last night, to sort of gear up for this mile coming up.
So going off of that story too, we always like to ask this as well, like, what are someone like Joshua and I, we do the podcast, we talk about running all the time. How do we get someone like you who's like new to running and like the marathon, you're about to go run this mile, like how do we get you into track and field? Because like that's like Roger Banister's incredible story, but a lot of people don't even know that the world championships are here in Eugene.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I'm so happy you brought it up, because I probably would love to go to track and field events and possibly also compete. My concern for myself is I know that I have like a threshold for training in terms of speed. So I know that if I run anything close to 6-minute miles for training, my body starts to like disagree with me, like I'm 37. I've always had a bad back. Like I'm not really the right person to try and run that fast for a short period of time. So, my fastest mile right now is like a 5:24, which I ran, which was when I injured myself that day. I had run a 5K and done pretty well. I think I ran like an 18:30 or something. And then I ran a mile. And when I started running the mile, it was the Fifth Avenue mile, felt like this bolt of lightning in my back.
Jeez.
And I almost stopped, but I was like, oh, it's just a mile, just like push through. And so a few strides later, it kind of went away, because I guess my adrenaline just like took over. Anyway, I finished the mile. I ran like a 5:24, and then I like limped home and spent the next 3 weeks on my back because I had like herniated a disc at some point that day. And it like probably in the 5K, and then in the 1 mile, I'd like just totally blown it out and like didn't run for like 3 months. So I don't want to push myself too hard, but I do want to run. I'd love to run a sub 5. I think it's possible. We'll see.
I think so too, but more than anything,
what's your fastest mile?
My fastest mile is not even that fast. 4:29. Aaron's fastest mile is faster than mine. Aaron, what's your 4:12? Wait, did you run a mile in college, Aaron?
Not really. I ran 3:48 in the 15. So we'll say like, what's 17? Like 4:04?
Yeah, 4:04.
Oh, right. Isn't a mile 16?
Yeah, 16.
Yeah. It's a little bit over 1600. 1609.
So weird.
But yeah. I don't know why that metric. Yeah, that's all weird. But yeah, we're gonna need you in Eugene. I'm manifesting you being Eugene this summer, and I got 2 more things before we get you out of here. 2 quick things. First off, can you tell your brother to make a Nerve 2?
Yeah, right.
Low key, like Nerve was fire. I just found out that your brother was the director of that yesterday, and I was all like, dang, I should have connected the dots low key, because I've watched that Casey Neistat, and I remember like Casey Neistat doing a vlog, then he ended up being like in the movie and stuff. You feel me? And I knew that you guys were like friends, but I was like, dang, he should make a Nerve 2, bros. You should. Can you relay that message for me?
I will, sure.
And then also, we always ask this question when we have somebody on the podcast. Oh, you having something?
I have one question, because I know you're friends with Alexi Papas.
Yeah.
How do you think she would be as a Catfish guest? Can we get her like as your co-host for an episode? That'd be that would be hilarious.
She's a lot of fun. That would be fun. Yeah, I would love it. I mean, I she's actually the one. That's so funny the way you talk about connections, and you never know. Like last year at the New York City Marathon, before the race started, she was warming up with like the sort of pro women athletes, and I just saw her because she was dressed up and had crazy fun makeup, and I just said hello, and we started chatting, and she invited me to meet up at her, like, I think, party afterwards. And so I did. And then she introduced me to Liam. Like, it's just been, it's amazing, you know, when you just put out good energy and you open yourself up to new people and new opportunities, like stuff happens.
Yeah, most definitely. The last question before we get out of here, we always ask this question because sometimes we don't know who to get on the podcast. So I need to ask you, who would be a good guest to come on to the Two Black Runners podcast? You definitely have, you're a different guest than anybody else, but who do you think would fit the mold? I don't know.
Sure. I mean, the first person that came to mind actually earlier was my coach. He's the head coach for New York Roadrunners, former Olympian, and just an awesome dude. His name is Roberto Mangi. Do you guys know who he is?
No.
Or Manje? I can't remember how he says it. But he's like, you know, he's my guy. He's my running coach, friends, and just a great guy. So I would start there.
I like that. That'd be a different type of person than we've had before too. We've talked to Ted Metellus from before, so anything with New York around that time is always cool.
Yeah, New York Runners.
So maybe check him out.
No, we appreciate you though, Nev, for coming on the podcast. You definitely didn't have to fit this into your busy schedule, but hey, we're glad you're here. We're glad to have the conversation. And hey, we're hyped to see you at the World Championships this summer. I'm gonna keep on manifesting that. I think that's gonna happen. You're gonna be at Eugene, Hayward Field.
Yeah,
we all gonna be watching Stephen McLaughlin.
I'll be there, man.
Break the world record.
I'll be there.
But thank you so much. Thanks to everybody for listening. See y'all next week on Two Black Runners podcast. Let's get it.
All right, get out there and run.